Hey all, my name is Paul Borosky and I am the owner of Quality Business Plan. And what I'd like to do today is introduce y'all on how to write a coffee shop business plan. Specifically, what I want to do is give y'all 5 different tips on some things to think about when you're writing your own coffee shop business plan. Now, please remember, if you do want to go ahead and avoid the pleasures of writing your own business plan, please go ahead and mosey on down to my qualitybusinessplan.com website and look me up. Be delighted to write you up a business plan for your coffee shop or any other industry. Also, I do offer templates for industry templates for business plans. So if you want a coffee shop business plan template, again, hit me up with an email, text message, phone call, so on and so forth. Be delighted to. Also, I do offer some books. I've written many books on different types of business plans, how to write a business plan, how to write a coffee shop business plan, a restaurant business plan. So check them out on Amazon if you want some more in-depth details on writing your own coffee shop business plan. So with the advertisement all done, let's go ahead and get to the tips and tricks of writing your own coffee shop business plan. So for the first tip is going to be about the company description. Just because your business plan is labeled company description doesn't mean that's all you're going to be talking about is the actual company itself. And what I mean by that is the products or the services you're going to offer. When I write a business plan, a company description for a business plan, I always like to start with just a broad overview of the company. I'm going to tell first and foremost, say the name of the coffee shop. This is going to be XYZ Coffee Shop. Then I'm going to introduce what kind of business structure it's going to be. And when I say business structure, it's a legal structure. Is it going to be a limited liability corporation? Is it going to be a corporation, a sole proprietor? Make sure to introduce that as soon as humanly possible, or a partnership for that matter. The next thing I would talk about, probably within the first couple of paragraphs in the company description, is going to be the location. I'm going to give a physical address or a city and state. That is helpful for the simple fact that, if you have someone that you're looking for funding or an investor, they're going to want to know where the location of the entity is going to be. If the investor is in New York City and you're in San Diego, that very well could be a deal breaker for them. So keep those things in mind, and also don't forget to include in your company description your products as well. What kind of coffees are you going to sell? Are you going to sell Arabic coffee? Is it going to be Colombian? And then also kind of touch on the sizes. Is it going to be small, medium, large? Or are you just going to stay focused on just one size? Also talk about the complementary items. You go to most coffee shops, of course, they're going to specialize in coffee, but while they're there, people just love dipping stuff in coffee. So what kind of items do you have for dips? People love sandwiches while they're there, and one of the most favorite things in the world when you're doing coffee is going to be the pastries. People love pastries, donuts, croissants, danishes, what have you. What kind of pastries are you going to offer, or what kind of complimentary items? And then there's always the services, the free services, the Wi-Fi. Is there going to be curbside delivery? Is there going to be delivery? So keep those in mind when you're doing the company description. It's just not describing the actual company, but there's a lot more components to it as well. All right, tip number 2 is going to be industry research. Definitely do your research. Know your game. Know your industry. Do a lot of research into the industry. You can get your information from trade magazines. One of the popular ones out there right now is going to be your Fresh Cup. Also get some statistics. If the coffee industry is growing, then you're going to want to show that, and you're also going to want to give credit where credit is due. So when you're doing your research, don't just tell the reader this is what you found. Show them where you found it. It adds credibility to your statements. And the last thing is going to be do your own research. If you've got 4 coffee shops in the area, if there is 4 coffee shops in the area, you want to start a coffee shop, my most humble of opinions, I'd be visiting every one of those 4 coffee shops. I'd be talking to the people. I'd be taking a look at what are their complementary products and services. How well are they interacting with the customers? Do they have a full stock, or are they out of stock? Those are just some of the very few questions that you can be doing in your own industry research. And the tip number three is going to be advertising. A lot of people love the social media and the website, and those are just expected. Your customers are going to expect to be able to follow you on Instagram. They're going to expect to be able to go on the Facebook and get your menu. They're going to want to see what your website is. And one of the biggest things I love putting on my websites is about us. People don't just go to coffee shops just to get the coffee. They want a story. They want to know where you've been and what training you've had and your experiences with coffee. That just adds to the ambiance, the presence, the whole visit. It just takes it up 3 or 4 notches. I mean, when you go to a Starbucks, love Starbucks, but guess what? That's a chain. When you're competing against a chain like that, you got to bring something else to the table, and that about us, that story behind who you are and what you do, that is always, in my most humble of opinions, is a game changer. And then you've got the other. Be creative. What are some other things you can do for your advertising? Social media and the websites, that's traditional. Just to get you in the game, you've got to do those two. But to put you over the top, you've got to be creative, and those creative ideas can be anywhere from door hangers to, coming up with some ways to, really stimulate word of mouth advertising. But make sure you hit that other advertising. The first two are definitely just absolutes. It's the other that's going to put you above and beyond. Then we got tip number 4, funding request. Most people they're going to need a little bit of change in order to start their coffee shop. And that little bit of change can either come from your bank account, your 401k, or excuse me, or somewhere else. You might have the cash sitting under your mattress or something. Who knows? But for the most part, most people are going to be going to a bank or an investor or even mom and dad, for a little bit of a handout. But when you do that, you want to have a funding request. And in that funding request, there are certain topics that you want to touch on in order to show professionalism and that you are prepared to start your business. One of the first things is going to be is identify how much money you're going to need. In the first paragraph, right off the bat, in all my business plans, or almost all my business plans, I'm going to say explicitly to the dollar how much you're going to need. Now, is every business plan going to be able to meet that dollar amount that I put in the funding request? No, because we don't know explicitly to the penny how much money is going to be needed. That's why I call everything in my startup is a budget. We're going to have a budget for equipment. We're going to have a budget for a lease. We're going to have budget for deposits. And that's the information we're going to put into the business plan. And from those budgets, we're going to be able to know how much we're going to need. And I'm also going to put a little bit of fluff in there. So if we figure out that we need $150,000 to start a coffee shop, I'm going to go a little bit higher, $160,000, $170,000. Put a little bit of buffer between what you think you need and the money that you're asking for. It's going to be important as you go down the line. Next thing that you're going to want to put it into your funding request is what you're going to use the money for. Make sure you I wouldn't say explicitly state each machine that you're going to buy. That's a little too much. But for front of house machines, you put a dollar amount. Back of the house machines, put a dollar amount. Tables and chairs, put a dollar amount. Build out, put a dollar amount. How much is your initial advertising going to be? Put a dollar amount. These are all going to be your budgets, and make sure you put those budgets inside your funding request. Next thing is going to be, how is the money going to be repaid? Just because you're asking for the money, whoever's giving you that money, for the most part, is going to want a little bit of something in return. That could be from your cash flows, cash flows from the business. It could be paid out in dividends, or heck, you might have a side job that you're going to be working, and you're going to guarantee this loan with the revenues coming in from your side job. Who knows? But what is known is a lender or an investor or whoever is going to give you the money, they're going to want to know where this money is coming from to be repaid. Don't just assume that it's going to be operations. Explicitly state that, or another source from which you're going to be getting the money. And number 5, what's near and dear to my heart is going to be the financial projections. When you're writing up your business plan, don't just go and do your annual projections, your 5 years, profit and loss, and your balance sheet. those numbers, they came from somewhere. Hopefully they came from somewhere, and it's not your imagination. But hopefully those numbers came from somewhere. And that somewhere is called your assumptions. Before you do your financial projections, come up with some assumptions that you're going to make while doing it. The assumptions could include your growth rates. How much are your sales going to grow on a weekly basis or a monthly basis? How much are your costs going to grow? When are you going to take in an employee? When are you going to take in 5 employees? Make sure you put these assumptions in there. And another thing is going to be taxes. Unless you're a nonprofit organization that's starting a coffee shop, and I don't know very many of them, if any at all, but you're going to be paying taxes. So make sure you include your taxes in your assumptions. Tell the reader, hey, I would think we're going to pay 20% in taxes, 25% in taxes. Tell them something. Also, make sure you use your cost of goods and state what your cost of goods are going to be in your assumptions and use it as a percentage. Cost of goods, you're only going to occur. Cost of goods is when you sell a product. For a coffee shop, your cost of goods is going to be the cup that you're delivering your coffee in, the actual coffee itself, the creamer, the sugar, the sweetener, so on and so forth. Those are your cost of goods. Make sure it's the best way to do it for your assumptions is to kind of estimate how much is it going to cost, how much is it going to cost for your coffee and your cups as compared to your sales, and use that percentage as in your assumptions. Next thing is going to be, when you're doing your financial projections, start with daily sales or weekly sales. Don't just go for annual, because then there's just no support there. Start with weekly sales. We believe that the first day we're going to be able to sell, or we're going to be able to generate, $175 worth of revenues, or $7,500 worth of revenues, whatever it is, and then break it down. We expect to sell 15 large cups of coffee, 12 small cups of coffee, 3 croissants, and 2 danishes. And then once you have that projection right there, you're able to show the reader or the investor or the bank loan officer or the underwriter or whoever the heck's going to be giving you the money, or whoever's going to be reading this document, where your thoughts are for day one sales. From that, you can add percentages and growth rates and so on to justify your annual sales. The next thing, when you get to your annual projections, your costs are going to grow from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to year 4 to year 5. Also, you might be adding a second, third, fourth, fifth location. So keep those costs into consideration when you're doing your annual projections. If you're going to have a third location starting in year 2, then make sure your revenues in year 2 justify and have included in that year your second location. We should be able to see a substantial jump in revenues based on that, and also a substantial jump in cost, and we should be able to see your profits reflect those adjustments as well. So hopefully this information is helpful for these 5 tips when doing your business plan. Just in summary, when you write, a coffee shop business plan, follow a proven format. Make sure you go to the SBA website, or, pick up a template. I've got some of the templates that I can sell for coffee shops that are going to be able to help you, put a structure together where you just, go through, either fill in the blank, or, you have sections where you can just add the information. So you follow that proven structure. If you really need some help and you don't want to go through the aggravation of writing your own business plan, pick up the phone, give me a call, send me a text, send me an email. Try not to walk over to my house, knock on my door. But there's a bunch of different ways to contact me. Do it. Be delighted to write you up a business plan for your coffee shop. The final thing is going to be, when you're writing your business plan, keep the star of the show as the business. I can't tell you how many times I edit a business plan, or I speak with an entrepreneur, and the business is all about them. They have a kabillion years in the industry, and they've won so many awards doing all this coffee stuff. That's all fine and dandy and fantastic, but once you make yourself the star of the show, if something happens to you, then your investor is stuck with the coffee shop without the main item, and that's going to drop a lot of value for the coffee shop. So make sure the star of your show is the coffee shop, and you are a supporting actor. It just adds value and credibility to your coffee shop business plan. All right, so with that all said and done, if y'all want to go ahead and mosey on over to my website, which is qualitybusinessplan.com/coffee shop business plan. I do have some more tips and tricks for how to write a coffee shop business plan. And if y'all are really, really motivated to write your own business plan, I do have a book on Amazon, Write a Coffee Shop Business Plan in 10 Steps, by myself, Paul Borosky. And I do include a sample and template in that book as well. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the video and give me a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you also really like some help with writing your own business plan, go ahead and give me a contact. Thank you.